Battery is without a doubt one of the most riff-tastic tunes in Metallica's catalog, so why are so many guitar tabs and lessons showing us the wrong way to play it? In today's video, we dive deep into the tiny details of this Metallica classic. Hey there kids, it's your good buddy, Uncle Ben Eller. Battery by Metallica is one of my favorite songs in history, but I've noticed over the years that there are a ton of guitar lessons and tabs, even like the top-rated tabs on the internet, that miss some of the vital details that make this song tick. So in my unending quest to rid the internet of fake news guitar tabs and lessons, in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys exactly how James and Kirk play these riffs themselves. As always, full tabs, charts, bonus lessons, backing tracks, and so much more are available to everybody who supports my channel over at patreon.com/BenEllerGuitars. This week my patrons are also getting a brand new installment of The Lick Doctor, the series where I take a look at my patrons playing and make it more better. This time I'm going to be helping one of my Patreon supporters conquer those sick double-picked riffs in Oblivion by Mastodon. So sign up today over at patreon.com/BenEllerGuitars and gain access to all the goodies. Gear-wise, today I am playing my Suhr Modern Satin into the Fractal Axe FX III, and I'm giving that Fractal a little kick in the amp pants using this MXR GT-OD. Guitar Month at Sweetwater.com is almost over, so be sure to click those affiliate links in the video description below to snag yourself a great deal on the GT-OD, some Jim Dunlop picks, strings, all kinds of good stuff. Whatever you need, they got it. First things first, let's address some of those transcription errors I usually see in the main riff of the song. This is what I typically see written out on those guitar tabs and stuff. There at the very end of the riff, we have that little series of dyads, right? Dyad is a term I'm going to use like a million times in this video. What that means is it's not a full chord, which is like 3 notes or more. It's just a 2-note grouping. That's what we call a dyad. I've noticed pretty much every tab and cover of this riff has you playing the dyads like this. That's using an E and G dyad on frets number 7 and 5, and then simply moving that same shape down a half step, and then coming right back up where you started. But that's not exactly how James and Kirk do it. If you listen really closely to the original, and you can find the isolated guitar track right here on YouTube, just type in Metallica battery guitar only or something like that, and you'll find it. Slow it down using YouTube's speed feature, and you're going to notice it sounds like this. You'll notice that the first dyad was the E and G, but then the second one moved down here to D and F sharp, frets number 5 and 4 on the A and D strings. To make that transition work more smoothly, you're going to want to use fingers 3 and 1 for the first dyad, and then for the second dyad, shift your first finger down a fret and swap out your third finger for your second finger. That way your first finger just kind of riding that rail up and down, and you're subbing out from your third finger to your second finger, then back to your third finger again. But that's not to say that the D sharp, F sharp dyad isn't in this tune at all. It's actually all over it, but it's always in a very specific place. They never use it in the riff, but they always use it to get into the riff. Take for example the intro of the song. After you've gotten through the acoustic parts and the big heavy distorted chord parts, they play that little 4-chord transition that does end with the D sharp, F sharp dyad. But it's to signal the fact that they are going into the main riff. And they continue using that D sharp and F sharp to introduce or return to the main riff throughout the entire tune. Take for example the section before the first verse of the song, the verse of course being the main riff of the tune again. They have that little 4-chord transition, right? But once you get going into the actual verse itself, you're only going to be using the D F sharp dyad. The chorus of the song is another perfect example of them using the D sharp dyad here to reintroduce the main riff, and they do it all over the place in here. So when the chorus starts, you got the long chords, right? So again, the main point that I'll drive home here is the only time you're actually going to use this dyad is when you're about to go into the riff. After you're in the riff, you're going to change to this D dyad every time. And while we're in the chorus section of the song, let's point out another segment in here that pretty much every tab and lesson glosses over. Specifically, it's the phrasing and positions that they use whenever they play those short little parts at the end of the chorus where James sings battery. Let me play it through slow here so you can check it out. So there's a couple little things I want to address here in the chorus. The first one is a little transition that they used the second time around in the chorus when they kind of cut the main riff of the song short. Here's what I mean. So we got the chords, leading in with D sharp, main riff, chords again, right here. So you'll notice that right there, they played yet again the E and D dyads before they jumped down here to the low E power chord. So that little transition would sound something like this. Again, they used D sharp right there because they weren't in the main riff, right? That's the biggest one right there that I never noticed until I listened to the isolated guitar tracks and then started watching some live videos of them and seeing that they were playing this, you know, B flat power chord that up until then they had always played up here in the 6th position. I noticed their hands leaping down here whenever they're doing that phrase where James just sings battery all on its own. You'll notice there that after I played the dyads, my hand went down here to the 1st position. That way I could play the B flat, not up here at fret number 6, but down here at fret number 1 and 3 of my A and D strings. Now what you're going to do is to hit that 2 times, an open palm muted A, go back to your B flat power chord, and then down here to your low F power chord on the bottom 2 strings. Okay? That's that quick little transition that they do. Let me play it again with the fast chords before it and you'll hear exactly what I'm talking about. Now after that, that's followed by another one of those transitions when James says battery the 2nd time. And it's essentially the same thing, it's just that the timing is a little more slowlier. Check it out. So once again, that was coming back up here for the main riff, D dyad, then down here to the 1st position again. And again, it's basically the same lick. You can just hear it a little better because it's slower. Next up, we have the riff that Kirk plays on the right side of the audio spectrum right before the guitar solo. This is actually one of the coolest riffs in the song, and I rarely see anybody ever address it or play it. Check it out. I think that's such a cool riff, and that goes underneath James's big long E and G power chords that he plays right there, so it's really easy to miss. But it's such like a modern sounding riff too, you know? If that was in like drop C tuning and it was through a boosted 5150, it'd be like the best riff that Killswitch Engage never wrote, you know? And it's got this E pedal tone thing and a little string skipping in it, so it's great to help you out with your, you know, down picking skills while you're traversing the string changes like that. So let's dig into this thing. So this is one of those riffs that I would refer to as having a stem and then two different endings that we tack on to the end of it. Here's the stem. After you play those 12 notes, you're going to have ending 1, then you're going to play the stem, and then you're going to play ending number 2. So stem, ending 1, stem, ending 2. Here's the first ending. So that's really simple. 2 E's, and then you're going to play from D to E on the A string. Now you'll notice that this riff ends with the same note that it started on, that E note right there. So just remember that as you play that first ending, that you're going to restart the stem on that exact same note. So you end up playing that note twice in a row, okay? So far we're going to have the stem, ending 1, then back to the stem. Stem, ending 1, stem. And then ending 2 is really simple. It's just 3 notes. You're going to play up F sharp, G, and A there on the D string. So all together it's going to sound like this. And the last little detail I want to mention here is the super badass riff that James plays behind Kirk's solo. I guess because most covers and stuff are usually concerned with, you know, playing Kirk's solo right here. Nobody pays this riff any attention, but they should because it's super sick. Check this out. And this is one of my favorite things that Metallica does all the time to build great continuity in their songwriting. Rather than like making up some new riff to go behind the solo, it's like they just plucked a little element out of that main riff from earlier, made an entirely new riff out of it, but it's still recognizable, you know? If you weren't paying attention, you would probably just think James is playing the main riff behind Kirk's solo, but it's actually sort of this little mutation of it. Really cool stuff. So obviously it's a bunch of palm muted low E gallops interspersed with some power chords. And those power chords are going to be B flat to A, and then later on we're going to use F sharp to F. It's going to sound like this. So there you go, guys, all the secrets that make this little Metallica classic tick. Now I'm going to leave it to you guys to go out there and correct all the internet tabs and stuff like that that are out there with the real way that Kirk and James play it. Like I said, that might be kind of different because if you grew up with the official Metallica tab books, you probably, you know, saw that D sharp dyad in there like I mentioned before, but those books are full of errors. They were not written with like approval of the band. Kirk and James didn't write those tab books or anything. Nowadays we have the technology, we have the power to find those isolated guitar tracks. You can even slow them down right here on YouTube and hear all these tiny details for yourself to make sure that we're doing them justice and playing them the way James and Kirk intended. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to let me know in the comments what other Metallica classics you would like to see broken down on a future installment of Weekend Wank Shop. I know there's a ton of really inaccurate tabs floating around out there for their older material, so let me know if there's a particular song or riff that you just can't figure out, and I'll break that down on a future video. Thanks as always for watching. Be sure to like this video, hit subscribe, and consider supporting my channel over on patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars. You're also going to get a ton of bonus lessons, backing tracks, all kinds of goodies. All the cool kids are doing it, and so can you. You can also find free tabs for this lesson over on my Instagram page at Ben Eller Guitars. Just search for hashtag Weekend Wank Shop. I think it's 284 now. Check the video description. I'll have it down there. It's either 284 or 285. I lose track. There's so damn many of these videos. Who knows? But yeah, just search for hashtag Weekend Wank Shop and whatever episode number this is, and you'll find those tabs lickety-split. Thanks again for watching, but now it's time to go practice. Less clicking, more picking.